Hey guys, I just got done watching the Fuji X100V announcement on their live stream here, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts on this new version and whether it's worth an upgrade or not if you already are a previous owner. And at the end, I'll share some of my wish lists of what I hoped they would have done, or they could always do it in the future. So let's get into it. First of all, I don't want to get into too much of reading into the spec sheet in its entirety, but I want to talk about more of the upgrades that matter to me in terms of the practical daily use of the camera. So of course, with any updates to electronics, you've got your kind of expected upgrades, kind of more iterative stuff. For example, the megapixels or the autofocus speed you kind of expect to improve from the previous generation, processing speed, maybe the buffer, battery life, and it looks like those in large part have been upgraded. However, those things aren't necessarily a deal breaker or a deal maker in this case, but some of the other things that they talked about were actually quite a good upgrade. So first of all, weather sealing. It is finally weather sealed. You just have to add the front filter to it. This camera without the front filter, it does have a moving element to it. You can see that it does move in and out, and because of that there's this gap right around the edges. If they were to integrate a built-in glass element in the front to kind of seal it off, as they announced in the live stream, it would probably add significant cost to it. So this filter, it just works fine. It works great actually. It's just a simple solution to address that last area of weather sealing. And you will need this adapter ring plus the filter. And I think the Fuji will probably cost, I don't know, what, 70 bucks or something, which might be a little pricey. But I have a feeling that this cheap JJC filter adapter that actually comes with the lens hood, it's like 13 bucks or something, or 15 bucks on Amazon. I think that plus a nice UV filter in the front. I mean, this filter adapter is just a piece of metal and threads. I imagine it's going to do just fine in terms of weather sealing. All right, secondly, the lens. It looks like they finally improved and changed the actual design of the lens, the glass inside. Previously, they had one spherical element, which is kind of that weird shaped glass element. And I think that's what makes the price of lenses go way up. They added a second spherical lens, but not only that, they changed the entire design of the elements itself. So I think that really helps in terms of the corner sharpness. And also because this is such a small lens compared to like if you put a 23mm f2 on the X-T3, you know, that lens is way bigger in size. So I think when they shrunk everything down to make it compact, the glass design had to be different. And so that kind of affected how sharp they could get the corners. With the second spherical element, they were able to kind of improve upon the corner sharpness. Also in the live stream, they talked about the sensor. They increased the angle of incident from 20 to 30 degrees. Now you may be wondering what that means. If this is the sensor right here, and you have your glass element lens right here in front, and so actually this might be easier. When the light is coming through the center of the lens, it's hitting the sensor at a straight 90-degree angle, right? So straight down. When you get to the edges and the corners of the sensor, it's hitting it at this angle, right? Well, here's a pen. It's hitting it at this angle. I think what they're saying is not from the sensor 20 degrees, but from the perpendicular 20 degrees. So 20 degrees is, say, here. This angle is now improved to this angle. It can come at a wider or a lower angle and hit the corner, and that kind of increases how much data can be captured by this corner pixel or the edge pixels. And so I think that has a factor in terms of increasing the edge sharpness or the corner sharpness. So that's a welcome upgrade. Corner sharpness, that's been something that people have been complaining for a long time, and they finally addressed that issue. We'll see in terms of practical use. Okay, the looks. You see this line right here, and it's really noticeable on the silver version. You see this line and this line right here, how this line is raised and this is lower. It looks like with the V, they just made that visual line straight. And so I guess they're kind of going after that Leica look. I don't know, I'm a little hesitant on that design change. And I will admit, a lot of times something new comes out and it's changed from what you're so used to. You're not a fan of it at first, but after a while it grows on you. So we'll see if it grows on me. But one of the reasons why I don't like it is because the way they made this line straight, it just kind of makes this whole silver portion above look chunkier. And it reminds me of looking at the X-T30 versus the X-T3, how the X-T30, it just looks like way chunkier. And I liked the sleeker look of the X-T3. And so comparing this to the V, I feel like this raised line gives it a slight, it gives it a more sleeker look. And so that's kind of what I like personally, but we'll see. Maybe it'll grow on me. Next, the thumbstick or the joystick. I was looking on Fuji rumors and they were talking about how the thumbstick was removed because they added a touchscreen. I actually prefer the thumbstick, so I was kind of a little bummed about it, but good thing they didn't remove it. I'm glad they kept it, and it's nice to have options now. If you wanted to do touch, you can do that. If you wanted the thumbstick, it's still there. Another thing I was hesitant about was the flip screen, and I'm glad that they really kept the simplistic philosophy of the X100 series in mind, and they made it really flush. If you don't want to use the flip screen, you can lock it in and it doesn't look bulky like the GFX or the XT series. And because of the streamlined design, having that option to use the flip screen is a nice touch. So, good job. Now going to the top, the ISO dial. This is a great, simple improvement that just really makes it that much better. All you have to do now is pull it up to unlock it, twist it, and then push it down to lock it in. Currently with this one, it's just kind of a pain to, if you want to go all the way, lifting it up and, rotating it, it is a pain. So this is a really good minor change, but huge impact. Film simulations, it looks like they added Eterna and Classic Negative. I played a little bit with the Classic Negative on the X Pro 3 when I went to Photo Plus a few months back. And that was the only camera it was available on. But I'm glad the new one has the Classic Negative simulation. Now, I hope with the Kaizen philosophy, they bring that simulation into the older ones. That'd be great. On the bottom of the camera, it looks like the tripod mount hole is still in that unfortunate position where you can't open the battery door, but I don't really use it on a tripod anyway. I think the reason they did that was because it's dead center in the camera, but maybe they'll listen to users one day on this one. And it looks like the new X100V will come in at a price of $1,399 or $1,400 US. And I think that's to be expected. I'm glad it wasn't $1,500. Who knows how long this will be back ordered for, but maybe a year or so into it, the price will probably come down to about $100 or so. I have a feeling it'll probably be back ordered through Black Friday and all of that, so I don't think there'll be a deal there, but one can hope. Okay, let's get into the wish lists. Things that the X100V doesn't have, but I wish they did. First, the viewfinder. A couple things with this. The diopter. Now, according to the spec sheets, it looks like they did change the diopter, but I don't know if it's actually this or not. We'll see in an actual unit when I get my hands on one, but the problem I have with it is when I look through it, especially with the electronic viewfinder, I go all the way to the end and it's just not quite there. I need to go just a little bit further. So hopefully the X100V, it does go just a little bit extra. But the other thing about the viewfinder is that I wear this around my neck all the time, and this is made of rubber for a good reason. When you put your eye against it, especially if you have glasses, it's not going to scratch your glasses. However, I did wish that, I don't know, something about rubber going against fabric, cloth. One, it gathers a lot of lint, but I don't like that feeling. I kind of wish that this was, I don't know, maybe a different material or something, or if you can take it on and off. But yeah, it's something that I wish was somehow improved. Now, is it worth upgrading to the X100V if you have the F, or if you have the T or the S or the original X100? I would say if you have the F, it's not really worth the upgrade. The only major factor I would say if you want to upgrade from the F is if you really need weather sealing. One time I had this around my neck as I usually wear it, and I was holding my daughter in my right arm, and she happened to have a tiny little water bottle. She was just really obsessed with it at the time. And I was holding her right here, and of course she ended up spilling the water. It wasn't a lot, but it hit it just right, and I think it was right around the seam where the lens meets the body. I think just the right amount of water went into that spot. It's kind of like the Death Star where there's that weak point. I saw somebody upload a picture of them going skiing with their X100F, and they said it was fine, but I found the weak point, and I think it was right in there, and within a minute the camera started shorting out and did this weird thing. I immediately shut it off. And then I ended up just taking the battery out and drying it for a few days. And I popped the battery in. Luckily, everything worked out fine. I think it was also because it's just regular water. It wasn't salt water or anything. All that to say, I think the only reason to upgrade from the X100F to the V, the new V version, is the weather sealing. If you really need the weather sealing. Now, me, I don't need it all the time. That was that kind of one incident where it happened. It would be nice to have weather sealing, but I don't know if I want to pay another $1,400 to upgrade when this is doing just great. 24 to 26 megapixels, that's negligible. Improved autofocus speed, I'm sure it is faster, but this does fine. I have no complaints. Processing speed, battery life, again, it's fine. Those reasons aren't big enough for me to upgrade. But if you have the X100T or older, the S or the original, then it might be a worthwhile upgrade to the V. Or if you don't have $1,400 to spend, you can always get the F. Now that the V is announced, the F I'm sure is a lot cheaper, especially on the used market. In that case, I think the F does have worthwhile upgrades from the T or earlier. I think I read somewhere somebody commented, the best thing about the X100V announcement is the price of the X100F. So there's truth to that. But I wanted to get into a wish list that I think Fuji, this might be a worthwhile step, or at least looking into. Deep down, I kind of wish they announced 3 new X100 cameras. One as they announced with the V, but 2 more models, one with a wider 24mm equivalent lens and a 50 equivalent. And the reason I say that is because 35mm I think is a great day-to-day focal length, but a 50mm I think that's also another good option. Right now they have the wide angle converter and the tele converter. It's kind of annoying when you have to constantly dig it out of your bag and screw it on. And not only that, but the size of those things, the balance also is a little thrown off. It just kind of, I don't know, it takes away from the streamlined, simple philosophy of the X100 for me. So I think if they designed a new 50mm lens equivalent, maybe at a f2 or a 1.8, and that would actually make me go, oh, maybe I do need to get a new camera. The new V that they announced, it's not really worth an upgrade from the F version. And same with previous iterations. If you had the T, it wasn't really worth the upgrade to the F. If you had the S, it wasn't really worth the upgrade to the T. And so you saw people hop skipping upgrades. You know, they would have the S and then upgrade to the F when that was announced, and they would skip the T. So I think if they had a different focal length, that might entice people to upgrade every new announcement. And I think the X100 series would be a great platform to have those fixed 50 and 24mm lenses, because the compact, simple design is what really sells the philosophy of this camera. If I did have a second camera in my bag, that is a much quicker switch. Announcing one new camera is a feat in itself, but having 3, that might be a little bit too much. So Fuji, if you're listening for next time, I think if you had a 50mm on this and then followed by a 24mm, I think that would be a really good move. Speaking of wide angle, I remember reading not too long ago on Fuji Rumors, they talked about the XP10 concept, and that really piqued my interest. So I'll talk about that in another video. But go ahead and leave a comment down below. What was your favorite announcement? What was your favorite upgrade that they announced? Or what did you hope for that they didn't announce? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and click subscribe for more videos. Till next time.